Well, maybe we can get started and give time for more folks to join us. Thank you, Brian, for setting us up with the slides at the beginning. Hi, everybody. Thank you all for joining today for this incredible session with the Community Investment Network, Essentials for Diversity in Giving. We're going to, Marsha, Morgan, and Tobi, Shannon are going to be sharing their curriculum. Closed captioning is available. You can enable that at the bottom of your Zoom screen. My name is Sara Lomelin. I'm the CEO of Philanthropy Together. Philanthropy Together is a global initiative to grow and strengthen the field of giving circles. And I am so excited to welcome Marsha and Tobi here to the stage. Marsha is one of the godmothers of Philanthropy Together, part of the co-design team that, started with the idea of create something to support the giving circle field at the US level and now at the global level. So I am very happy and I'm going to pass it over to Marsha and Tobi. Thank you.
Hello. We are so excited to be here. I am Marsha Morgan with the Community Investment Network.
Hello, good morning. Well, it's early afternoon here, but I'm Tobi Shannon, and I am a board member on the Community Investment Network.
All right, so we want this to be interactive and fun. So please feel free to use the chat throughout our time together, and we will go back and forth between using a presentation, a Jamboard, as well as the chat feature. So we want this to be informal as well as fun. So before we get started, we want to share a little bit with you about the Community Investment Network. CIN has served as a source of education, inspiration, and empowerment for communities of color across the country. CIN has always been rooted in grassroots philanthropy, which makes it a powerful and unique organization. Our members know there are no limits to the change they can create because their efforts are not limited by resources, but more valuable and impactful because of their collective resources.
CIN has in the past and continues to strengthen communities of color and African American. CIN actively connects and inspires the communities we serve. CIN has been a part of my philanthropic life since CIN's beginning, and over the years, I've watched CIN grow into a powerhouse through dedication, a powerhouse through love, wisdom, energy, and a whole lot of faith.
I joined the Community Investment Network to learn and share my time, talent, and treasure with other philanthropists of color who are looking to expand the network of collective giving across the country.
I joined CIN because I believed in the purpose, I believed in the messaging, and I believed in my community. CIN spoke to being on the supply side of philanthropy. That means that we understood that we had enough straw to build a brick. By building a brick, you're able to construct roads and foundations that will allow for stronger communities.
I enjoy being a part of the Community Investment Network because I can give by design. For many years, I was giving money to different organizations and not really knowing where the money was going. But in CIN, I can determine where my money is going.
I joined the Community Investment Network because I wanted to help contribute to the narrative of African Americans within the realm of philanthropy. It is my hope that being a part of the Community Investment Network, going forward, the shape and look of philanthropy involves and includes people of color from around the world.
I admire the legacy of CIN. I see CIN as the matriarch of philanthropy for communities of color. We live and breathe this work.
Thank you for sharing that, Marsha. And I hope you all have gotten just a little bit of a sense of what the Community Investment Network is about. You'll see this map here. This is where all of our giving circles in our network currently sit. We're excited that we are expansive across the entire United States. And have even taken our time, talent, and treasure abroad as well at different times. All of our giving circles are impactful in their communities in a variety of different ways. And we are really excited that we are able to be a home to them in a sort of, in a sense of the word, and understanding, especially as we've, come to this virtual state in the last 2 years, we've really seen the power that they've been able to bring to different communities. And so, yeah, we can go to the next slide. In terms of ways to support development, we are excited that we can continue to offer membership to all different types of folks who want to be involved with philanthropy and the ways that we connect with donors of color, especially. And so we offer giving circles, individuals, and institutions, and the ability to be able to connect with our giving circles and connect with, again, donors of color, and understanding that donors of color are really the best folks within their communities to be able to make sure that wealth is redistributed and that we are able to share those experiences so that we can continue this legacy of being able to support our community through our time, talent, and treasure. The giving circles that are involved within the Community Investment Network were really drawn together by these folks that are shown as well as listed: Lynn Walker Huntley, Ambassador James Joseph, Lynetta Gilbert, Emmett Carson. And we've really been able to propel forward because of support from key foundations like the Ford Foundation, Denver Foundation, the Kellogg Foundation, and the Poise Foundation. And again, this is all across the United States. And so we really love that we are able to continue the work that we do within the network and in the support of the giving circles that are a part of our network to be able to make an impact within our community. So now we'd like to take some time to share our stories a little bit, share how we came to know CIN and understand a little bit more about what it really means to engage donors of color and get into what the EDG curriculum is. So Marsha, I'll pass it over to you to share your story first.
Thank you, Tobi. It's funny when you're in this virtual environment, you always think you have figured everything out. And so I don't think there's a meeting where you don't always have an opportunity. So thank you for bearing with me as I find the mounts on the screen. But anyway, my introduction to the Community Investment Network started in 2004 when I was fortunate enough to be one of the founding members of the Birmingham Change Fund. Before that time, I would say I hadn't really thought of myself as a philanthropist. Yet in 2003, in the early 2000s, there were conversations in the South about how young African Americans were spending their time, talent, treasure. What were they doing to engage in communities? And I took part in some of those conversations because of a colleague who's also another founding member of the Birmingham Change Fund, Charles Lewis, who actually served as the first board chair of the Community Investment Network. When the Birmingham Change Fund was founded, there was also another circle founded, the next generation of African American philanthropists. And I'll definitely let Tobi share her connection to that circle with you all. But I will say that one of the most impactful things that I've been able to do is in my adult life, I should say, is really the work that I've learned from CIN, from being a part of the Birmingham Change Fund. It has changed the trajectory of how I think of strategic and intentional impact. And it has also really renewed my faith in what it means to be a part of a collective, and that there's the power that exists when we come together and leverage our resources. Tobi?
Yeah, so like Marsha mentioned, I have sort of a unique connection to one of the founders of CIN, one of the founding circles, I should say, of CIN, the next generation of African American philanthropists. I actually am, I guess you could say, the product of that. I have both of my parents who came together to form that circle with a couple of their friends in the Raleigh-Durham, North Carolina area. And they passed this on to me in terms of the tradition of being able to give back to our communities in a variety of different ways. I was exposed to it as a child. I would attend the meetings, come to the CIN conferences in their early days, and be able to just witness all of these renowned folks, in my opinion, who are able to come together and again, pool their money together to make sure that our community felt supported in a number of different ways. And that's something that has stuck with me to the point where, as I have entered into my collective giving story and philanthropic journey, it has made me that much more driven to be able to continue this legacy that my parents started and instilled within me. And so I'm excited, to sit as a board member on CIN and continue to again pass this legacy down and engage even younger donors than myself to be able to share with them the power of collective giving. That's what this entire We Give Summit is about, and we're excited that we have been able to partner with Philanthropy together in a number of different ways to be able to continue that legacy. So it really is just exciting for me to be able to be in this space and continue to connect with folks who are doing the same things that, my parents were doing all those years ago.
All right, so now we'll talk a little bit more about the EDGE curriculum, Essentials for Diversity in Giving. So in 2008, the founder, we kind of call him maybe the founding father of CIN, Daryl Lester, kind of launched this curriculum for CIN. He developed it. And really the goal of it was to, number one, demystify what philanthropy was as it relates to communities of color and level that playing field, but also to help those who maybe do not have a lot of engagement with communities of color as it relates to whether it's fund development or if it's someone that is at an institution such as a community foundation or any other traditional philanthropic organization, really designed to provide those individuals with tools and resources to understand how to engage with communities of color. And really the beauty of the EDGE curriculum is that it takes, number one, a lot of self-reflection to see the intersections that exist within individual giving as well as giving within communities of color. So there are several things that really speak to what comes out of participating in the EDGE curriculum. Number one, you understand the history of giving as it relates to communities of color, why the motivations, the intent, as well as the curriculum is so customizable that we have utilized it not only for traditional philanthropic institutions, we have used it for academic institutions as well as for membership organizations such as collective giving networks that maybe do not have diverse memberships. We've also used the curriculum for nonprofit organizations that lack board diversity or diversity in their membership. So the beauty is that the modules and the curriculum can be tailored to the needs of the entities that need the support. It is designed to really help philanthropic leaders that are on the ground. And the principles are based in community-based philanthropy and really social change philanthropy. And so before I tell you more about the EDGE curriculum, we are actually going to do an exercise. One of the things that I think that we've learned to embrace during the last 2 years is the ability to understand how to engage in a virtual environment. The beauty of EDGE is that when you're in person, you have all these interactions. And so you're actually up and you're moving around, you're talking constantly, you're in small groups, you're doing exercises, you're really engaging. But we have fortunately been able to leverage technology so that we can do those same things in a virtual environment. And so what we would like for you to take a few moments to do while I continue the presentation is there's going to be I believe, a link that's put in the chat.
Yep, I just dropped it in the chat.
Okay, for you to click on. And so we'd like for you to click on that link, and it is going to pull up a Jamboard for you to actually go to. And we would like for you to write the word that comes to mind when you see philanthropist, when you see volunteer, when you see charity, and when you see community member. Just the first word that comes to mind.
You can use one of the sticky notes. You'll see a little icon that looks like a sticky note to be able to put words under.
Mm-hmm. And if you're not familiar with Jamboard, please let us know, and we'll be happy just to pause and to walk you through it. Okay. And we want everyone to continue to add their sticky notes. We are going to continue on to sharing a little bit more about EDGE with you. And so these are some of the modules that you'll find in EDGE. And so what you'll see is that these are really based around the value of giving, as well as the practice of giving, and then the context of giving. And so the beauty of EDGE, as I mentioned, is that it is customizable it is designed for individuals, institutions, networks. But one of the reasons that we are excited to have this overview session during the We Give Summit as a part of the network block is because it's also designed to allow members of the CIN network to share their giving stories. And so we do training sessions with members of our network. So it's not that you'll always hear from Tobi and Marsha when it comes to doing the EDGE curriculum. We are a national network. And so the beauty is there's a lot of rich context within the experiences that the members of our network have had. And we think that's a beautiful thing. And we share that by ensuring that we have a diverse group of individuals deployed when it comes to supporting leveraging the EDGE curriculum in communities near and far. And so when we think about the reasons that donors give, and we know that these are all personal reasons. Number one, obviously it deals with your history, maybe cultural memories. It can be rooted in social justice, relationships, or even just thinking of your values. But one of the things that we try to always establish is a common language with EDGE. And that's one of the reasons we're doing the word walk activity. And so just a little bit more about CIN and why I think us leveraging our expertise and our knowledge really as a network of individuals that are rooted in community is that it really connects the dots for organizations, institutions, membership groups that maybe do not have diverse individuals that they are engaging, because it allows you to have, number one, a common language. We help you to understand the motivations, really even leaving you with a 30, 60, 90-day plan for how you can actually tailor and some actionable items that you can do to increase your membership or expand your donor base as it relates to communities of color. All right, so let's take a second. I'm going to stop sharing. Tobi, do you mind walking us through the results of the word walk activity?
No problem. Okay, so I'll be looking at my second screen. So if you see my head turn, that's why. So there are a lot here. I'm excited. So the first word, philanthropist, you see all of these. I really like redefine, expand, include, because inclusiveness is a large part of philanthropy. And I really think the path forward in terms of making sure that everyone has the resources necessary to be able to do the work that supports our communities. Definitely collective giving, as we've been talking about this whole summit. Complicated for sure. I like that a lot personally. As I've, grown as a philanthropist, also grown as a collective giver, I kind of struggle to define and redefine what those words mean, because oftentimes they can be attributed to, histories within our nation, histories within the world that often are complicated and, make us think about what our impact is and what that really looks like. So definitely love that. In terms of volunteer, support, generosity, time, at CIN, we use the 3 T's a lot, and I think they've been expanded to 5, I want to say. And there's definitely room for all of them. I think volunteer, I think a lot of times when we think about philanthropy or think about community giving, people think that it's just monetary, but volunteer is such an important aspect of it. And that's something that I do in my day job, in terms of running volunteer programs and making sure that people understand that they don't have to have, all the money in the world to be able to do something, but their time is so valuable. Charity, paternalistic for sure. Saviorism, yep. Definitely a little bit outdated. When I think of charity, yeah, all of those words are definitely attributed to it. And it makes me wonder, how we can either redefine that or find different words to utilize in place of it. Community member, solidarity, definitely. It takes a village. Yep, that's one of my favorite phrases, favorite African proverbs. It takes a village. Powerful, expansive, neighbor, and connection. Yep. And I think those connections are super important. And just to tie it back to EDGE really quickly, I think that's why we love being able to share the EDGE curriculum with folks, because of the ways that it ties people together, and ties one of the 5 T's, but the ways that it really ties our community members together and has people understanding when you think about philanthropy, it shouldn't just be, something that's whitewashed. It should be something where you see all types of different people being able to participate in being able to give back through their time, talent, and treasure, and understanding, what that looks like from various communities. It can look like different things. And so we want to make sure that that diversity is blended in when we talk about, these sorts of topics.
Yeah, so I'd like to open it up for some of the participants. What surprised you maybe about some of the words that were shared, or what really resonated with you? Would anyone like to share?
Yeah,
sure. I was happy to hear that complicated resonated with not just me, because it was the first thing I thought of when I heard philanthropist, because even my own relationship with the word has shifted over time. And I feel like this is a bad way to say it, but I was actually kind of excited to see that folks were naming charity as like outdated and paternalistic, because I know for me, like, I feel like charity is very much rooted in power dynamics and like upholding current inequities in a way that I have always felt really uncomfortable with. And I had written down saviorism, but I wasn't sure what other people were going to say. So it was like really validating to hear what other folks were saying. And I just loved what folks were writing for community member, because it was funny, like my initial reaction was like, I just wanted to write community. And then I was like, oh no, I can't, like that would be silly, obviously. So it was kind of beautiful to see all of that. So, yeah.
Excellent. Thank you so very much. Would anyone else like to share?
Marsha, you know me, I'm not shy about opening my mouth. I think complicated really captures a lot of what's going on. And I admire the work of people like Tyrone Freeman and his biography, philanthropic biography of Madam C.J. Walker, in reclaiming the word philanthropist and getting back to an original use that wasn't about very rich people giving lots of money. It was about people caring for each other and seeking to change things in their communities, like Madam C.J. Walker struggling against lynching in the early 20th century. So I think that struggle is important, and it's good that it's complicated. And I love the fact that you all have that program where you assert, I am a philanthropist, and you reclaim that word. I think that's a really valuable place to plant your flag. So thanks.
Okay. No, thank you very much for sharing, Michael. Shazeen?
Hi, yeah, I feel like we're with like-minded people because a lot of the words resonated with me. For me, I think that I really like reclaiming the philanthropist word as well, because I think, and I think the philanthropist and charity, my community, people give without a name attached to it, right? That's very, very common to, especially when it comes to zakat and stuff like that. It's, considered even a greater gift of giving if you don't attach your name to it, right? Whereas a lot of nonprofit fundraising in our society is about naming things and gifting things. And so it goes against our culture of giving, right? And so, so it's good to see different cultural perspectives. And then I was really happy to see saviorism, because coming from a different culture and not having the savior mentality, right? It's something that I see in so many aspects of our society, but specifically charity, right? And is, where I come from, my mom, I was born in Pakistan, but my mom was born and, raised in Pakistan and went to Catholic schools, right? Where, it was the missionaries that were there to save us poor dark people, right? So sometimes that's our earliest experience with charitable giving, is, it is at the expense of our faith oftentimes, right? And it's like, it's not just giving, it's the expectation of saving us from, our own cultures and our own faith. So I think that's an important part that we don't talk about. So it was good to see that there. So thank you, Kelsey.
So I think that each of you, Shazeen, Michael and Kelsey, you all really, I think, highlighted the importance of terms and definitions, because if we think about words, they can limit us and hinder us, or they can actually help us to understand and expand our viewpoints and our mindsets. And so I think that we are definitely surrounded by like-minded individuals here today. But if we're thinking of engaging possibly with a community we're not as comfortable with, or that we don't interact with as often, our thoughts and mindsets when we think of certain words can actually prevent us from really having authentic and sincere relationships with those individuals. And so that's something for us to really keep in mind as we're looking to diversify our donors, our memberships, our boards, or whatever the case is. And even if it's not where you're trying to diversify your membership because of race, they're also just very, we also have to be very cognizant, even when it's an identity-based circle, or an identity-based organization, that we actually even still do these types of activities because we are all bringing different backgrounds and perspectives to the work that we are doing.
Marsha, I think that you just mentioned is extremely important because sometimes, people put a whole identity or ethnicity in a big bucket, right? The API community in a big bucket, the Muslim community in a big bucket, the Black community in a big bucket of Latinx. And we need to understand that we are very, very diverse communities inside the same ethnicity. So thank you for bringing that up.
No, thank you for echoing that. And I think that's one of the things we want everyone to, as we're going through here, and like you'll hear us say a lot that it just really, it can be tailored to a number of organizations and entities. But the beauty of it is it really is rooted in self-reflection, in order to understand how to really engage authentically with others, to accomplish goals as it relates to making our communities better. All right, so if we move on and we, as I mentioned self-reflection. Number one, we all know that we have different dynamics as it relates to how we grew up. You all may hear a little Southern accent from me. I grew up and I still reside in Birmingham, Alabama. And so I know everyone here we come from different places, whether it's here in the United States or abroad. But we are bringing those experiences of our childhood and our formative years to the work that we do. And whether we realize it or not, that still shapes how we engage and interact with others and the value we place on our own personal giving. And so we are actually going to go back to Jamboard again, and we're going to go to the second one. And then you'll see each of these motivations. And there'll be a quote by each of these words. And whichever one, let's just say the top two that maybe resonate with you, we want you to move one of the dots that are at the bottom and just put it by the word that resonates with you. And so when we see altruism, we're talking, the quote associated with that is, oh, and Tobi, would you like to share your screen? I can stop sharing.
Yeah.
Okay. And these words I doubt are not, and let me just say this, this is always a no judgment zone. So don't ever feel like if you're giving for tax deduction, that we're gonna judge you. We're not. So we don't want anyone to feel like they can't share their real thoughts and opinions. And if you're having trouble finding it, it's Tobi put in the chat, select the second page.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. And you should just be able to take the dot and then move them. But when we think of family and legacy, maybe that resonates with you. Maybe you give because your family is your community and you saw that growing up. Maybe you give because you need to reduce your taxes. Maybe you give because you know it's really the right thing to do. You might give because you care for others. Caring for others in your community is also like caring for yourself. You may give because you are really passionate about a certain issue or cause. You also may be motivated to give because you know that there is something that needs to be fixed. You may want to give because you think that it's great to hang out and have fun with your friends and community. Maybe there's a religious reason why you give, because it could be one of the core values and principles, a basic tenet of your religious or spiritual beliefs. And then you might give based on political associations and affiliations. You may want to support efforts that lead to long-term social or political change. Okay. So as we look at the reasons that people give, who would like to come off and share one of the reasons that they give?
I can share. I think for me, the top two that I put was caring for others in my community is about caring for myself. And also I support efforts that lead to long-term social political change. Because I think as an immigrant, you know, maybe before moving to the US, I have this maybe romantic idea to think that everybody in the US was having the same opportunity. And the moment I moved here, I realized that that was not the case, that many people from my community were struggling. And I am tired of that because I feel that, you know, the Latino community in this country is, I believe it's 17% of the population of this country, and the majority don't have an opportunity to thrive because of systemic issues. So for me, that is, it's caring for my community, but it's also looking of how do we have a structural change so people can really have an opportunity to thrive.
Definitely.
You know, and I think I would like to know if, you know, one of the things that you'll often find is that what someone else shares or says kind of resonates with you. So anytime, maybe if you want to use your reaction, throw a heart up or just let us know that what Sarah shared really resonates with you. Because I do think that her story is coming to the United States and understanding that everyone doesn't have equal opportunity resonates.
Oh, it sounds like there's a fire alarm going on. Yes, I resonate with that too, though. Sarah, thank you for sharing that.
I can share some, and that really resonated with me, Sarah, too, because, you know, I'm an immigrant in an immigrant family, and, you know, immigration, especially from Asia, you know, we weren't allowed into this country, you know, at the time, you know, we came in unless we had $100,000 in the bank or had a master's degree, you know what I mean? So our wave of immigration and the people that came in the earlier parts of our immigration were really well off or educated, and, you know, and that's how we kind of got the model minority myth. But many people have come since that, you know, lack resources and things like that. So I don't think it's a fair example. So that's one of the reasons. The other reason I personally, you know, moved more into, I worked in nonprofits for many years and didn't realize how much philanthropy shaped our work, right? Where the money was given, who the deciders were, and things like that. And so I think in the excuse me, in the last few years, I've been trying to make more of an effort to understand, you know, the other side of the equation in the work that we do, right? Because at heart, I'm a nonprofit person that, you know, that's my field, but understanding and helping shape that narrative of, you know, people-based change versus, you know, top down. I think that's an important narrative piece that we need to add to philanthropy. So that's my motivation.
Yeah, I definitely resonate with that. I think one of the things that I often ask, I work within the corporate social responsibility and nonprofit spaces. And I think one of the things I often ask, and I'm asking more, even though it's kind of challenging, is, you know, what is our purpose here? Are we here to kind of work ourselves out of this job and having to address this issue? Or are we here to, just highlight it and maybe advocate for it, but not really, implement systemic change or address anything that has to do with systemic change? And I think that can often lead to, some complicated feelings about, what are we forming our giving circles for? What are we forming, our nonprofits for? And how does that continue to either work for or work against, our overall time on this earth, so to speak, kind of getting into the existential, but I think it's something to think about and understand a little bit more, because it's going to drive the way that we make impactful change ultimately. I can stop sharing, Marsha.
Okay. So as I resume sharing, I know that we all kind of selected certain reasons, to, certain motivations for giving. Do you think there's any intersection between maybe some communities we don't always engage with and how they may give and some of the selections that you made today?
I feel hopeful. And maybe it's and it's you, Marsha, and Tobi, and Michael. I think it's all of us that were here, right? That we have been working in this space for many years. I am seeing a change, which fills my heart with hope of many giving circles that were being very structured and very, full of processes, really reevaluating the way they do their work. And that gives me hope, right? I mean, yes, I would like that change to happen quicker than it's happening, but I think we're moving towards there, and the fact that we see more and more giving circles that have been in existence for 20 years, and we're very top down, very structured, like throwing everything on learning, which is the best part of everything, right? Unlearn the bad practices and really start, from scratch, or opening their hearts and their minds to something different. That, fills me with hope.
No, I think that's great, Sarah. And I think also one of the reasons that question is often asked is because, there really is not a lot of difference between sometimes the way I choose to give versus the way Michael may choose to give, what motivates him and what motivates you and what motivates Tobi and Crystal and Shazine. So when we have these types of conversations, the important thing is to number one, honor our own heritage and our experiences that we're bringing to the table, but then also find out where the intersectionality is and where there's overlap in the practices for our motivations for giving, whether we're on the supply side or if we are asking for assistance. In addition to that, we also like to share stories. And so we're going to kind of flip through, share this one from Shawnee Hilliard.
I think what I've gained by giving is a sense of accountability. If you're going to live it, you should be giving it and showing more by what you do and not by what you say. One nonprofit that is particularly special to me is S.M.A.R.T, Sisterhood of Philanthropists Impacting Needs. What makes S.M.A.R.T so special to me is the foundation of the sisterhood that we've been able to build. S.M.A.R.T has given me a place to find my authentic self in giving. S.M.A.R.T has given me a place to take it to the next level. I met a young lady who is now my mentee through our organization, and we were able to feed her family and also assist her to move forward after she graduated high school. That has been a very special experience. What surprised me about giving is just seeing the return of your investment, whether it's your time, your talent, your treasure, or your testimony. I think the return of that investment is the greatest gift ever.
So I think Shani answered this question that I'm going to pose to you all very well, but I would love to hear your answer.
I think,
and really, it's not the question that's up there, but the question is, how does giving build relationships to community? I'll put it in the chat. Or maybe the question should be, does giving build relationships with community? Maybe that's the question.
I can chime in on that. For me, because the giving circles I'm part of are new or just establishing. And for me, I am looking for that community, right? That is part of what I want from the circles I've joined. You know, and I think, sorry, my phone's going off. But I don't know if I've always found that, but it helps me want to create that for the future in the circles that I'm involved in, and also to, you know, to emulate, you know, I love the Latina Giving Circle and how they had community. So that to me was a model, and that's like the intersection of how I would like to see, like, you know, the ones I'm involved in go forward. And so for me, that's where I'm coming from, is that maybe I haven't found it yet, but that's what I want to create.
Oh, wow.
Shasine, and you will. Because I think giving totally builds community, because I mean, I have seen it in people that come and being part of a giving circle, and they say, I feel that I'm coming home, right? Because you find your people, you find people that share your values. You may not share anything else. You may be coming, you know, you have maybe have a different age or a different background or live in different places, but what unites us is what unites, you know, people in giving together is those values. So I definitely feel they build community.
And so what I love about the question is, you know, earlier when we were defining the term community, you know, obviously there are different ways we think of community, whether it's our neighbor, our fellow man, or, but even in the context of this question, thinking of community in the scope of our giving circles, and that being a tribe of your friends or like-minded peers who you are collectively working with. And obviously you can build each other up through that work. But then even when we think of Shani's example of being able to, through her giving circle work, have a mentee that she can pour into, then obviously that's another layer as it relates to building community. And then even some other individuals who are involved, who've been involved in collective giving or just giving period, it may have catalyzed their reason or desire to actually want to run for a political office or to do some other things, change a career. So really there's no limit to how giving can really strengthen and build our community. But often what we see is, I think, identity-based circles or from communities of color, because philanthropy has been this touted or this far off notion at times, you know, it really enables us to harness that power that we have when it comes to giving. And because of that, our communities are built up. But we not only build our communities externally, but we also build our communities internally, whether it's with our circles, our families, our institutions, and other organizations that we're a part of that we can influence. Okay. And so Michael says that my giving usually follows and reinforces my connection, especially to institutions such as his alma mater or where he works. The practice of a giving circle, whether it's in person or online, reinforces that connection, which I admire. Frankly, I worry that online platforms and crowdfunding have the potential to be a community, but that potential isn't always realized. I think you bring up an excellent point, a very excellent point, because depending on how we leverage technology and those resources, it can either build more connection, bring us together, or it can allow us to be a little more isolated, even though we're doing something for a good cause. So I think that you made an excellent point. And I think we've seen a lot of that even within the past 2 years, as we've said, in this virtual environment. And I think we may be running short on time, so I want to make sure I'm respectful of our host. And so with that, we'll just say thank you all so very much. We'll also take any questions that you may have. So CIN, as we have mentioned, is a national network of giving circles. We are here to support and engage entities, whether it's from a philanthropic institution level, traditional philanthropic institutions, or non-traditional membership organizations. So feel free to reach out to us. We thank Philanthropy Together for allowing us to have this time together, and we hope that you enjoyed the interaction and engagement today, and we hope it was insightful. So thank you for sharing. Thank you for bringing your full and authentic selves to our session.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Marsha and Tobi, for sharing this. This curriculum is excellent and, really makes you think, reflect, be vulnerable. And I feel that, by sharing the stories and listening with other people think is, as we did here, we go deeper, right, in our practice. So thank you so much for sharing your insights. And before we wrap up, please remember to answer our 2-question poll before exiting the meeting about the session. Your feedback is super important for us. And in the next few days, you can find the recording of today's session. It's going to be posted on Huba. And we look forward to see you in other sessions at We Give Summit. The next sessions are starting in about 5 minutes. We continue with the network blocks, and we're going to have sessions with SVP, Philanos, I think just SVP and Philanos, correct, Eliasa? Yes.
And Amplifier as well. Yeah.
But Amplifier is closed. Amplifier is just for their federation. So it's just Philanos and SVP if you want to join those. And otherwise, we have the more sessions in the evening and the networking, the speed networking that yesterday was a lot of fun. So we hope to see you there. Thank you again, Marsha and Tobi.
Thank you.
Thank you.